good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? Bitch boy Millsy. Back from Town Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew version 1.0 decklist to the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's always, baby be, always be brewing. And that's what we're back to do today. The deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. So I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I'd appreciate it. But today, we're covering a classic Mardu commander in Kaalia of the Vast. There's actually two versions of this going up today. You're watching the no-budget version over on the channel as well today. I'm going to have my budget version, the normal $300 to $350 budget version for Millsy Brews if you're interested in that. But today, we didn't put money really into the mana base. We really just put money into the creatures. That's what Kaalia of the Vast cares about the most. A 4-mana 2/2 human cleric with flying that says whenever she attacks an opponent, we can put an angel, demon, or dragon from our hand tapped and attacking that opponent. This is a really fun ability, allowing you to cheat in some really big angels, demons, and dragons, some of them with pretty powerful effects, and Kaalia is going to help us facilitate that. In order to do that, we're going to just talk about some ways we can protect Kaalia, talk about some ways we can get more value from Kaalia attacking and our creatures attacking, and just hopefully build a deck that can punch our opponents hard. But I want to say a quick thank you to the channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in checking out a lot of videos just a little bit early, check it out at the link down below. Well, the first thing you're going to notice about this versus the no-budget version is this first slide, and that's that these are three dragons that are all very good at what they do, but they come with a price tag for it. The premier one being Ancient Copper Dragon, a 6-mana 6/5 Elder Dragon that when it hits a player, you roll a d20 and make that many treasures. A huge effect, and it has a huge price tag for it. Ancient Brass Dragon could be very helpful for us. Whenever it hits a player, we get to roll a d20 and put any number of target creatures with mana value X or less from graveyards onto the battlefield where X is the result. So anyone's graveyard, we can reanimate up to X mana value worth of creatures. A really fun ability. And then Ancient Gold Dragon, whenever it hits a player, we roll a d20 and make that many 1/1 fairy dragons. Just all three of these are very great effects and have great stat lines off of Kaalia, cheating them in to hit our opponents hard. Avacyn, of course, makes a ton of sense, giving all of our other permanents indestructible, helping us protect our things from, all of our destruction-based removal. Then our opponents just need exile-based removal to get our things. And that is helpful since the most common removal that people play are actually destruction removal. We think about things like Swords of Plowshares and Path in our heads, but a lot of the removal we do play actually is destruction removal. So it's good to have this indestructible thing going. Balefire Dragon, whenever it hits a player, it deals that much damage to each creature they control. This is a nice way to maybe knock one of our opponents back down a couple pegs. If they're going wide and have a lot of small creatures, Balefire can help us with that. Bloodlet of Aclazot set up an opponent would lose life during our turn. They lose twice that much life instead, really just doubling right up that damage that we do to our opponents. It doesn't mean that, right? Because it doesn't actually double the damage, but it effectively does in doubling the life and making sure that all of our creatures just hit harder. Bloodthirst is a really interesting creature, and it presents a fun opportunity for us in our deck. It's a 6-mana 6/6. Says whenever it hits an opponent, we can untap it. If we do, there's an additional combat, and it can't attack a player it's already attacked this turn. So Bloodthirster pretty regularly is going to give us 2 extra combats, and it's going to deal 6 damage to each opponent. Now, if we care a lot about this ability, we could find a way to give Kaalia Vigilance and make sure we can get multiple triggers per turn. But I think Bloodthirster is just a really great threat to our opponents if we can get it down. Basically guaranteed 6 damage to each opponent each turn. And if we can double it or interact with the amount of damage we're dealing, it's just going to get harder and harder for our opponents to deal with. Burning Room Demon says when it comes in, we search for 2 cards not named Burning Room Demon, have different names. We reveal them. An opponent chooses one of them goes into our hand, the other goes into the graveyard. It's just really useful to get key creatures that we want, get into our hand, feed up the next cheat in, and we don't even mind putting it in the graveyard, especially if we have ways to reanimate our creatures, right? Maybe we can pay for a big creature by just reanimating it for cheap. Gisela is going to double all damage that would be dealt to our opponents and have all damage dealt to us, just helping us along our way of hitting our opponents hard and hitting them harder and harder. Herald of Eternal Dawn is one of 2 creatures in our deck that has the line of text, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. This is just a really interesting ability because if it's used at the right time, it can stop our opponents from doing some pretty crazy things. This also has Flash if we were to have it in our hand, allowing us to do that at instant speed. But I think it's just a great thing to cheat in and have our opponents have to get past that hurdle to do what they need to do. Lord of the Void says whenever deals combat damage to a player, we exile the top 7 cards of that player's library and put a creature card from among them on the battlefield under control. It's a really nice ability. Pick the opponent you think has the best creatures, hit them, and make it happen. Razaketh, a big 8-mana 8/8 demon. We can pay 2 life and sack another creature. Just go get a card of our choice and put it into our hand. I think there's a lot of ways you can look at Razaketh. If we had any way to like make tokens, which we do have a couple of cards in the deck that make tokens when they hit, you could sack one of those to go get something. My other thought with Razaketh is like you could just sack another creature to go get a reanimation spell to go get something else. There's a lot of ways we could use Razaketh's search to our advantage to get better and better cards. Ruin Scarred Demon, when it comes in, just goes and gets us a card and puts it in our hand. Again, these demons are great just to feed into our next cheat in, right, and make sure that we get these big things in when we want them in. Scourge of the Throne's ability won't activate the turn you cheated in with Kaalia, but it's great on the next turn. Whenever it attacks for the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most or tied for the most life, you just get another combat and tap all your creatures. Again, great for Kaalia because now we're having a second combat, another trigger for Kaalia to put something down. Safara, like Avacyn's going to give all of our creatures with flying indestructible, which is most of our deck. Most of our deck, if not all of it, is creatures with flying. So that's going to be really useful to protect our creatures, even Kaalia. It's Avacyn's not limited to angels, but in case we did have a creature that just gave a certain type indestructible, the nice thing about Safara is it gives all of our creatures with flying indestructible. Sarah's Emissary comes in and has us choose a card type, and we and creatures we control get protection from that card type. I think a pretty obvious one is creatures. It's basically going to make sure that our creatures can't be blocked and we cannot be attacked by creatures. There's probably a whole episode we could do on just protection alone. I would suggest you look it up and read up on protection, but it's a very interesting mechanic, and it's something to know about for cards like Sarah's Emissary where you get that choice. Sower of Discord is going to come in and let you choose 2 players. When you deal damage to one of them, the other player loses that much life. This is a really great ability, making sure that we can damage 2 opponents at once, making that amount of damage that we need to get even less in, right, and getting us closer to winning the game. Twin Flame Tyrant's going to deal double all damage we would deal to an opponent or permanent opponent controls. Again, great with all these big angels and demons and dragons coming in just to double up that damage. I love Valgavoth, and it fits really well here. A big 9-mana 9/9 with lifelink. And whenever a card would hit an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, we exile it instead, and we can play those cards. It's a really fun card. It has a huge ward cost, and it's just going to be a demon that our opponents have to either wipe off the board or risk dealing with. Same thing with Villas, a big 8-mana 8/8 that can pay a black and 2 life to give a creature -1/-1 until end of turn. It may not seem like a very good ability, but then you realize Villa says whenever we lose life, we draw that many cards. This is a really fun ability because not only if our opponents attack us will we draw cards, but just Villas's ability is going to draw us too, hopefully refilling our hand and making sure we have more things to cheat in on the next turn. There's a lot of ways we can look to protect Kaalia. I think the Boots and the Greaves make the most sense, right? These cheap equipments that go on and give her protective abilities. Greaves giving Shroud, Swiftfoot Boots giving Hexproof, Lavaspur Boots giving Ward 1. Just trying to give some protection. The other nice thing about all these is they all give haste, so if we needed to get Kaalia down on a future turn and had the extra mana, we could equip these and give her haste right away to get in and get attacking. But I think we can build our deck with just some more value to make Kaalia good. We have 2 copies of the effect printed on Ishin. If a creature attacking would cause a triggered ability by a creature we control to trigger, it triggers a second time. We have this and Windcrag Siege on the next slide that are basically both allow you Kaalia to trigger more than once, which is huge, right? Making sure we can get those creatures in and attacking. They will both have to be the same player, but I don't think we mind as we're getting this damage in. I think Ag Assault just makes a ton of sense. This is an enchantment that for 5 mana can just give us another combat, and then we get another main phase after it. Of course, there are a lot of ways we can use to steer into Aggravated Assault and use it as many times as we want to just get infinite combats if we choose to play into that. This deck does have ways to do that with things like Ancient Copper Dragon. As long as you're rolling 5 or more on the d20, you can just continue to take combats. And we could even build more into it if we wanted to, making it more of a reality, but I think it's just a great way to get a couple more extra Kaalia triggers over the course of a game. Phyrexian is going to draw us an extra card each turn, making sure that we have access to more things. Same thing with Unholding Annex. Draws us a card on each of our end steps. If we control a demon, everybody loses 2 and we gain 2. Otherwise, we just lose 2. And then for 5 mana outside this other room, we can just make a 6/6 demon if we need it. Although we do have a good amount of demons in our deck, so I'm not worried about us getting a demon, that we might need in time to not fulfill the annex. I also don't think we care about 2 life if it means drawing some cards and getting access to more things. I think in any deck where you want to cheat creatures in, Sneak Attack just makes a ton of sense. Yes, you lose the creature at the end of turn, but we could take a big turn where we get a bunch of creatures in and attack, and then do a bunch of damage at once as we hopefully modify it or magnify it with the creatures that deal damage or double damage and all that kind of stuff. Sneak Attack, we're not going to see it every game, but I think the games we see it, it's just going to really help us out in our game plan. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at Kaalia, and I think going to testing, I'd want to see, are there any other dragons or demons that I missed on? I thought about Terror of the Peaks. It makes a ton of sense doling out that damage when things come in. I just honestly couldn't find a slot for it. I think there's a lot of other really fun dragons, demons, and angels I wanted to put in above it. Mithril Coat could make sense. Another way to, and Kaya's Ghost Form. Both of these are more ways to protect Kaalia, just to make sure that she sticks around so we can continue using her ability. Truthfully, I think this is the part of the deck that we don't want to put too many resources in. We want to make sure that we can see one fairly regularly, just to keep Kaalia safe as we cheat things in. But let's get into our favorite part of the show, and let's get into our playtest. Remember, the goal of playtest on our channel is not to find a magical Christmas land. It's not to show off our best plays, but it's to play some practice hands and start to get an idea of where our deck's at and where it can go in the future. Here we're keeping a 3-lander with a Talisman, so there's our 4 mana. Bloodletter of Aclazot's Goldspan Dragon, which wouldn't get a trigger on coming into the Kaalia. It has to actually declare an attack, but Goldspan's a great creature to follow up with. And then Saphara giving all those flowers indestructible. Well, here we see Soul Ring, which is actually going to get us a long way, because this is actually going to net us a turn 2 Kaalia, which is huge. That is a huge thing in a lot of games if you can get her down even quicker. Here, I think the answer is just Bloodthirster off her attack. Get it down, get it going. Don't waste any time. We would have 2 extra mana, but I don't see us using anything for it. I guess we could hold up the City of Brass, because we could put the red into here. So we could hold up the City of Brass for path, right? But again, get that big damage in with Bloodthirster. Now, as we come back to our turn, I don't mind hard casting Goldspan. Again, it gets me the treasure. It's a great attacker, and then we could look to cheat in Bloodletter this turn. Now, the reason I like Bloodletter is now Bloodthirster's dealing 12 to everybody, and it's doing 12 to everybody this combat. And now the rest of them can go elsewhere, just continuing to get some big mana in. Remember that Saphara can be paid for a white mana and tapping 4 untapped creatures with flying, but we're not going to fulfill that this turn. And now, hopefully we survive with Kaalia up. I don't think we mind Kaalia getting removed, but I think this is a tough board state for an opponent to choose what to remove. Do you knock out Kaalia, which is enabling the deck, or do you knock out something like the Aclazots, right, making this even worse? This is a board state, unless somebody has a full sweeper, right, they now got to make a decision. And this turn, I'm probably just slamming in the Gold Dragon. I've got enough mana to just hard cast Saphara to give everything indestructible, right? And then this dragon I'm cheating in, right? With Kaalia, and we're just safe. This rolls a d20, makes that many 10. So there's 10 fairy dragons this turn. They all have been indestructible because of Saphara, and now it has to be an exile board wipe. Otherwise, we don't even need to cheat in another creature. This is still dealing 12 per turn, so we're at 30 overall for each player on just Bloodthirster alone, if they haven't found another way to get rid of it. So, I mean, this is just a great example of, with a couple turns of unchecked potential where we could get. Here we're keeping a 2-lander with Felwar Stone and Arcane Signet. There's the Unholy Annex for draw, and we see Goldspan and a Read the Bones. So, I was going to say, nothing super killer as far as creatures go, but we have lots of ways to dig into it. And here we see Bloodthirster turn 1. That's cool. I was going to say that's great, but it's followed up by probably the single best thing we could cheat in our deck, and that's Ancient Copper Dragon. Because that mana alone is going to be something that's really useful. We're going to end up having to take this turn off to play the Felwar Stone because we didn't get another land. But I think that's okay. We've got a nice hand when we eventually land there. So I think we just look in for the Kaalia this turn. It's going to have to get a little slow, right? Because it can't attack this turn, but that's A-okay. And now, I mean, what's the answer to our problems? Goldspan might as well, and then cheat in the Copper Dragon. Makes us a treasure. Now all of our treasures tap for 2 mana instead of 1. Copper Dragon hits probably for sure on turn 5. Makes us 9 treasures. This is 20 mana right here that we can use. We could use this. Three and 5 is 8. For this and the demon, if we want to make sure that we don't do that. We could Runescar Demon just to get another, card of our choice to our hand. Truthfully, I don't think it matters. I think the Bloodthirster is going to be good enough. But we could go get something like Twin Flame Tyrant or something like Bloodletter that's going to guarantee more damage next turn, especially since we have the mana to hard cast them before we go into combat. And I think we're just in great shape. We could always read the bones this turn if we want to. But, truthfully, I think we're pretty much good to stop here. Because unless somebody really has removal for specifically, I would say at this point, they have to take out Copper Dragon, right? So unless somebody's sweeping the board, we lose Copper Dragon. I don't think we care. I don't think we care because at the end of the day, we got the mana we needed. We got the value. And now we're just going to continue to profit from it, right? But let's get into our third playtest, keeping a 1, 2, 3, 4 lander with Razaketh, Goldspan, and Animate Dead. So we've got a nice start. It's a little slow, right, in that we didn't see any of our mana rocks. But I think that's okay because, truthfully, we still want the mana after we play Kaalia because then we can still play more creatures. That's what I really like about Goldspan, is it's one of those creatures that we kind of want to play as opposed to cheating in because it gets the most value when it attacks. So it can attack somebody else this turn as we cheat in either Razaketh or Twin Flame Tyrant. I think we just cheat in Razaketh, right? And get us that treasure. That treasure is now able to be used for that Animate Dead, maybe if needed. But as we come back to this turn, I think we're going to look to cheat in. I would say we want to cheat in Twin Flame Tyrant. But let's think about it. Is there anything that Razaketh could go get me this turn that would make more sense to cheat in? Well, I could sack Goldspan, go get Copper Dragon, right? Hard cast the Twin Flame Tyrant now. So that damage is doubled up. And this is dealing 16, and that Copper Dragon would be pretty big, right? That's my thought, right? It stinks to lose Goldspan, right? But I think we still just get a ton of value here. Go to combat, cheat in this. And this is actually going to roll a d20, only once, but it's 12 damage here, 16 damage here, and 4 damage from Kaalia. So we're dealing out big damage this turn. Roll the d20, we get 15 treasures. And we can always animate Goldspan Dragon back with the Animate Dead. I mean, there's a lot of options here. Could just continue pressing on. I think, at this point, it pretty much doesn't matter what we draw. Truthfully, we'd love to draw something, right, in order to have another creature to play in. But again, it really doesn't matter because unless they can deal with any of these pieces, if they try to remove one of our creatures, we just sack it to Razaketh to go get something else, right, effectively making their removal not as useful. And we still have Animate Dead to get a key piece back. Like if they knock off the Twin Flame Tyrant, we can just go get it back, right, with the Animate Dead. So I like this playtest. It's kind of shown us why those big creatures at the right time is really important. Here we're keeping a massive land hand. Again, a 4-lander with Arcane Signet and Soul Ring, and there's the Brass Dragon. Brass Dragon isn't the best of all of our options for the Ancients, but it's very good. And we see Demonic Console, which is a pretty fun card. It can go get us Razaketh. It can go get us Valgavoth. There's a lot of great demon options in our deck. Burning Rune Demon if we want to go get specific creatures, right? But we'll get Kaalia in here. And I think at the moment we're pretty much cheating Brass Dragon in. So the question is, what demons would we have access to? Burning Rune Demon, Runescar Demon, Razaketh, Archfiend of Depravity. So we got some good options. So Runescar for sure goes and gets us something we want, which would, at this point, would be something like Copper Dragon or something like that. Razaketh could for sure help us go get what we want. The thing I like about Brass Dragon is we could reanimate our opponent's creatures and then sacrifice them to Razaketh to go get creatures of our choice. That could be kind of a fun line. Or or there's Valgavoth, right, which is still a huge option and presents a problem for our opponents. I think I'm going to go with Valgavoth just because it's an absolute powerhouse, and I think it's going to be my cheat in this turn to get in and get that process going. Here we see Sower of Discords. Remember, when it comes in, choose 2 players. One is dealt damage to one, shield damage to the other. And that feels like a great play because we cheat the Brass Dragon in this turn. And I probably just send everything at one of the players that's presenting 17 damage in the air right now. If they don't have any flying blockers, that's 17 to 2 people, right? Just really dealing out this damage and making this even better for us. And then now, right, if anything will enter our opponent's graveyards, hopefully we can get something off Valgavoth. Otherwise, we just keep the party going. Just keep attacking. We have flawless maneuver to protect the board from a little bit of indestructibility. I think we're just in good shape. But let me know, what do you think of Kaalia down in the comment section below? I know there's a lot of nuance to Kaalia. People have their preferences on what to see and what not to see. I think Kaalia is a really fun commander. Truthfully, the goal of this video was to help out a friend of mine to see if I could make her Kaalia deck just a little bit better. I'm going to be sending her these lists and see what she thinks of them. But I'd love to know what you think, and I will catch you in the next one.